Here are the top stories for today, June 19, 2020. The Department of Transportation says the PUV modernization program will do away with the boundary system for PUV drivers. Malacanang warns the public against taking Dexamethasone to cure COVID-19. The BIR includes bloggers and filmmakers earning from digital ads among online businesses that need to be registered. And Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi urges President Duterte to sign the proposed anti-terror bill. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. PUV drivers are said to benefit under the PUV modernization program as the Transportation Department eyes for a stable salary among drivers instead of a boundary system. In a Laging Handa briefing, DOTr Road Sector Senior Consultant Alberto Bert Swansing said one of the least highlighted aspects of the government's PUV modernization program was the overhaul of the mechanics between a PUV driver and the operator. Swansing explained that for some traditional jeepney drivers, their earnings fully depend on how many passengers he can take, with the operator taking a consistent chunk of his earnings called a boundary aside from fuel costs. Many PUV drivers retire with no pension as most of them are not SSS members.
Yung matitira dun sa kawawang driver is yung, well, kung meron, no? Umigit kumulang on the average, ang pinag-uusapan nating natitira dyan is 400 pesos, no? Or even less. Sa mahabang oras na pagmamaneho. Kinakailangan nila mag-retire, wala silang pensyon dahil hindi sila nagbabayad ng SSS. Hindi sila binabayad ng SSS ng kanilang employer.
The DOTr has remained on schedule with its two-phase restoration of public transportation in Metro Manila. 28 city bus routes are currently operating in Metro Manila while provincial buses remain suspended. At least 1,200 locally stranded individuals arrived in Albay from Metro Manila today under the Libreng Sakay program. According to the Provincial Social Welfare and Development Office in Albay, the second batch of the Libreng Sakay beneficiaries are transported by 40 commissioned buses. They will be turned over to their corresponding local government units with proper health safety precautions. The first batch arrived in the province last June 5. Meanwhile, several lawmakers from Eastern Visayas called for a review of the government's Hatid Provincial program and the health protocols being implemented for locally stranded individuals. Among the lawmakers are Majority Leader Martin Romualdez, Representative Paul Ruiz Daza, and Jose Ong Jr. of Northern Samar, and Leyte Representative Lucy Torres Gomez. They made the call in light of the rising number of COVID-19 cases in their region, as the rapid increase was observed shortly after the national government implemented its Hatid Provincial program. More of those who tested positive were returning residents who were previously locally stranded in Metro Manila for days. They urged the national government to support the funding ramp up for state programs, projects, and activities related to the COVID-19 response in the region. The chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee called for the resumption of operations of provincial buses. House Committee Chair and Albay Representative Joey Salceda said a continuation of provincial bus bans would have very little utility as far as preventing infections is concerned and could cause great damage to the mobility of people who have to go to work. Salceda said the economy will not fully recover until transport can be made operational. He also warned against opportunistic behavior, saying this is the worst time to step on other people to gain undue advantage. He said if there is an issue with pricing fares due to social distancing, we should talk it out with the regulators, negotiate at the proper forum, and monitor any attempt at price gouging should be monitored. He suggested that the government could come up with a program allowing provincial buses to operate at reasonable margins without compromising safety and health standards. The IATF-EID said they will be reviewing the proposal of allowing provincial buses for the second phase of the resumption of public transport starting June 22nd. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque explained that although the initial plan of the DOTr is to allow provincial buses under Phase 2, it was decided on the assumption that Metro Manila would have already transitioned to a less strict MGCQ. Roque said the LTFRB is also studying the possibility of allowing the resumption of traditional public utility jeepneys if PUVs would not be enough to ferry passengers to their respective destinations. The DOTr opened 3 new bus routes on Thursday. These are PITX Sucat, PITX Naik, and PITX Cavite City. There are currently more than 8,000 TNVS units, almost 17,000 taxis, and 271 point-to-point buses operating in the metro. The DOTr is also continuously providing free ride service for healthcare workers. 15 workers of MRT3 tested positive for COVID-19, and Manila court workers were ordered to go on self-quarantine following possible exposure to the disease. Janice Cabe tells us more.
The Metro Rail Transit Line 3 management reported that 15 of the workers at its depot in North Avenue, EDSA, have tested positive for the coronavirus disease 2019. The 15 workers are under the MRT3 maintenance provider Sumitomo. As a precautionary measure, all personnel of both MRT3 and Sumitomo at the North Avenue depot will undergo rapid testing to be conducted by the Philippine Coast Guard. Contact tracing is ongoing for the COVID-19 positive personnel. Identified contacts are advised to undergo self-quarantine and RT-PCR testing before going back to work. The depot will also undergo a second round of disinfection after its first disinfection last Monday. Meanwhile, Executive Judge Virgilio Macaraig directed all RTC judges and court personnel stationed at the City Hall of Manila to undergo self-quarantine until June 30. This after 2 court employees came in contact with close relatives who were found positive for COVID-19. Affected courts may conduct hearings through video conferencing away from home and accept pleadings and motions filed electronically during the period of self-quarantine. In other news, DENR Director Natividad Bernardino, who organized the Boracay IATF meeting, clarified that the female employee of the Bureau of Fire Protection in Western Visayas, who tested positive for COVID-19, never took part in their meeting on June 11. She said there were no BFP representative in the meeting, nor was the agency invited because it is not a member of the task force. Records from the Regional Health Department showed that the BFP employee arrived in Boracay on June 12, or a day after the actual meeting took place, and stayed on the island until June 14. She was among the 6 COVID-positive patients identified by the DOH on June 15. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines helped in the construction of temporary shelters and accommodation facilities for the use of medical frontliners. The 51st Engineering Brigade, with the assistance of other stakeholders, completed the temporary shelters for medical workers at the Lung Center of the Philippines in Quezon City. These temporary shelters are part of the Oasis project of the Office of the Vice President and were designed to provide comfortable sleeping accommodations to medical workers in the front line against the COVID-19 pandemic. The AFP is also helping in the construction of temporary shelters in Quirino Memorial Medical Center, Chinese General Hospital, and Manila Doctors Hospital. As the entire country commemorates the 159th birth anniversary of Rizal, Malacanang enjoins all Filipinos to emulate our national hero and become agents of genuine transformation. Rizal was born in Calamba, Laguna on June 19, 1861. He remains a nationalist icon in the Philippines for helping the country make a move to achieve independence from Spanish colonizers. Rizal's advocacy for reforms in the Philippines during Spain's colonial rule led to his early death. He was convicted of sedition and executed in Bagumbayan, now called Luneta, in Manila on December 30, 1896. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Rizal's life is a testament of how a single person's deep love for his country could spark the reawakening of our forefathers' desire for freedom and change. He said Malacanang is proud to see today modern-day heroes, our courageous frontliners who rise up to the challenge and serve as beacons of hope to a people weary and fearful of the present global health scare. Still to come, Malacanang warns the public against taking Dexamethasone to cure COVID-19. And the BIR includes bloggers and filmmakers earning from digital ads among online businesses that need to be registered. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang welcomed the result of the trial in the United Kingdom on Dexamethasone, a common steroid which showed recovery in patients severely ill with coronavirus disease 2019. But it clarified that the drug cannot be considered a miracle pill. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the discovery was good news since the steroid is a common, cheap, and commercially available drug, but also pointed out that the findings showed that it could only reduce deaths by about 30% in critical COVID-19 patients.
We definitely welcome it, although we don't think it's a miracle pill kasi ang findings po, it can save about 30% of seriously ill patients. No? We want a cure that will save 100%, no? If not a majority of those who fall seriously ill.
The DOH on Wednesday also warned the public against the unregulated use of dexamethasone.
Mariin po naming pinapaalalahanan ng publiko na hindi po tayo dapat pumunta agad-agad sa mga botika or drugstores para bumili nito. Mas mariin din po naming ipinababatid sa inyong lahat na ang gamot pong ito ay hindi tinitake without the supervision of a doctor. Lalo na nga po na kagaya po ng ibang gamot, meron po itong mga side effects kapag mali ang paggamit nito.
Malacanang said the proposal to hold face-to-face classes could still be studied for areas under the new normal. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the decision to prohibit face-to-face classes could still change should there be zero or a low number of new COVID-19 cases and community transmission in a particular area. Roque, however, said that given the current situation with more than 27,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country, the likelihood of allowing face-to-face classes remains slim.
Hayaan niyo po, never say die. No? Pagdating naman po ng Agosto, titignan natin ang datos kung ganong karaming lugar ang nasa new normal na at ibibigay natin uli no, ang suhestyon na baka naman po pwede na mag face-to-face doon sa mga new normal.
Last week, Roque said Duterte may be open to further discussion on the possibility of allowing face-to-face classes in areas with zero cases of COVID-19.
I am sure the President is open to further discussion on the possibility of face-to-face. Pero uulitin ko po, no, habang may banta ang COVID sa isang lugar, out of the question po yan.
Meanwhile, DepEd Director said Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or LCP, will support teachers' continuous professional development and prepare them for the changing landscape of education. The Association of DepEd Directors Incorporated said the Learning Continuity Plan would establish programs for teachers with core values of innovation, leadership, and accountability. It will also ensure that every Filipino learner will not be left behind amid the pandemic. The immediate implementation of the Philippine Identification System, or PhilSys Act, remains one of the priorities of President Duterte. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Duterte was convinced that there would be no more delays in the distribution of financial assistance to poor Filipino households once PhilSys is fully activated. Duterte earlier expressed frustrations over the delays in the release of the first wave of payouts for low-income families affected by COVID-19.
Primary consideration po kung bakit binibigyan ng prioridad ng Presidente ang National ID System ay yung pagbibigay po ng ayuda sa panahon ng krisis. Kung may National ID System tayo, hindi na sana nagdoble yung mga tumatanggap ng ayuda, hindi na sana naging problema yung verifikasyon ng mga magiging beneficiaries ng mga ayuda galing po sa ating gobyerno.
As of June 16, around 1.3 million families who are also part of the government's Pantawid Pamilyang Filipino program have already received the second tranche of emergency subsidies. Meanwhile, the Philippine Statistics Authority said registration kits are now available while the automated biometric system has already been procured. It says the service provider is now working on the authentication system that would be used to verify persons registered in the Philippine Identification System. National statistician Claire Dennis Mapa said all data centers will be on board starting July 2020. President Duterte will join his fellow ASEAN leaders in a virtual conference on June 26. ASEAN leaders were supposed to hold their 36th annual summit in April this year, but the meeting was postponed due to the global threat posed by COVID-19. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said he was not privy to the issues Duterte would raise during his virtual meeting with his fellow ASEAN leaders.
Next week pa naman po yan, siguro po pwede natin isa publiko yung agenda ng iba't ibang mga ASEAN meetings.
Malacanang said it was not surprised by the results of a survey which showed that more Filipinos have felt their quality of life worsened in the past 12 months. The latest SWS survey showed that 83% of Filipinos said their quality of life got worse, termed by the pollster as losers. 10% said life was unchanged, and only 6% claimed it got better compared to last year. The survey was conducted from May 4 to 10 among 4,010 respondents aged 15 years of age and above using mobile phone and computer-assisted telephones nationwide.
It should be 100%, no? Because there is COVID and the economy was closed. Hindi po kami nasusurpreso dyan. It should in fact be 100% dahil minimum 2 months tayo complete lockdown. Lahat po talaga tayo nahihirapan at kinikilala po yan ng ating Presidente.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue has urged bloggers and filmmakers who earn from digital advertising to register with the agency. The BIR released a list of online merchants required to register their businesses. At the same time, it ordered its revenue district officers nationwide to release a certificate of registration of digital sellers of goods and services in a day or two upon application. The BIR estimates about 6 million big, medium, and minimal digital merchants operating in the country. The BIR clarifies that only those earning more than 250,000 pesos annually will be required to pay income tax. The Department of Trade and Industry, through its attached corporation, the Philippine International Trading Corporation, will only import rice once it gets the nod of President Rodrigo Duterte. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque ensured that rice importation would only proceed when Duterte gives his approval. The Interagency for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases authorized the PITC in March to import 300,000 metric tons of rice. On Monday, the Department of Budget and Management said the PITC has no legal authority or funds to import 300 metric tons of rice. The government has not declared any shortage in rice supply. The PITC has held in abeyance the issuance of notice of award to prospective rice suppliers to the country pending the availability of funds. Roque, meanwhile, said the PITC had already asked Duterte to approve the plan to import rice. Up next, Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi urges President Duterte to sign the proposed anti-terror bill soon. And DOST aims to provide eggs, chickens, and ducklings to frontliners and affected families in 6 regions. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi hopes that President Rodrigo Duterte will soon sign the anti-terrorism bill amid continuous pouring of support from other local government units. Marita Moahe has the story.
Surigao del Norte Governor Francisco Matuga sought to dispel apprehensions of the critics of the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, saying the measure will preserve the right to life, the most important right of Filipinos. In a statement, Matuga said the bill will protect Filipinos' right to life against the inhumane and indiscriminate acts of terrorism. The indigenous people mandatory representatives in Caraga region earlier called on President Rodrigo Duterte to sign the law, which they perceived as a shield to protect IP communities from the influence, harassments, and intimidations of the Communist New People's Army. Meanwhile, Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi has expressed hope that President Rodrigo Roa Duterte will soon sign the anti-terrorism bill to equip the government in its effort to maintain peace and order, as well as enhance security in the country. In a speech before the Regional Peace and Order Council of Region 4B, Cusi said the country needs the new law to combat the terrorists who are hiding behind the human rights law to propagate their activities. Cusi also enjoined the council to help in the information drive and correct the misconception about the bill. For his part, RPOC Chairman Palawan Governor Jose Alvarez also echoed Cusi's call as he urged the President to sign the bill immediately. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Moahe.
The military says every resolution declaring the communist rebels persona non grata is a collective proclamation that Filipinos have grown tired of their atrocities and their abuses. This after Occidental Mindoro's Provincial Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict has officially declared the Communist Party of the Philippines and the New People's Army as persona non grata. Major General Arnulfo Marcelo Burgos Jr., 2nd Infantry Division Commander, said these initiatives show that the political will and cooperation of elected leaders is a big help in fulfilling the challenging task of ending the communist insurgency. He said the enemy of the state's eventual demise is near since they are running out of space to evade government forces. The Labor Department now allows clients to file forms and other documents online. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture works on boosting local poultry production. More on this from Chris Mundo.
The Department of Labor and Employment has developed an online facility where workers or employers in Metro Manila can file their labor-related requests online amid the general community quarantine. The e-filing services, which was launched this month, is a free system that allows a client to register or fill out forms, submit applications or reports, request permits or certifications, or submit other DOLE-related documents in a secure online environment. DOLE NCR will get in touch for updates through the client's registered email address, telephone, or mobile number. Meanwhile, the Makati City government is set to provide a 3,000 peso cash bonus to each of its City Hall employees. Makati City Mayor Abigail Binay said over 7,000 regular, casual, and contractual employees will receive an anniversary bonus on Monday, June 22, on the 350th Araw ng Makati Foundation Day. She said this is to give back to their valued employees for their service during the COVID-19 pandemic. The scheduled celebration for the Araw ng Makati is cancelled due to the health crisis. In other news, the Department of Agriculture is banking on the AAA poultry dressing plant in Tarlac to boost meat exports from the country. Bureau of Animal Industry Director Ronnie Dominguez said the 100 million peso plant could help the poultry raisers increase productivity and competitiveness amid the pandemic. In separate statement, Agriculture Secretary William Dar said the DA is in constant talks with United Broilers Raisers Association to help them resolve major issues and concern. Dar reiterated that they did not ask the local poultry industry to limit their production in favor of imports, contrary to earlier reports. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
In our foreign news, patrol ships of the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries seized a Filipino fishing boat and Malaysian fishing vessel for poaching in Indonesian waters. The two vessels were found poaching illegally in the waters of Malacca Strait and Sulawesi Sea on June 16. Authorities held for questioning 5 Filipino crew members of the Motor Bangka Sofia and 4 Malaysians on board the Malaysian flag vessel SLFA 5070. Since October 2019, Indonesia has detained 47 foreign fishing vessels for poaching in Indonesian waters. The 47 vessels comprise 20 Vietnam flag vessels, 14 Philippine flag boats, 12 Malaysian flag vessels, and 1 Taiwanese flag boat. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources in Central Luzon warns the public against the selling of wildlife through social media. This after operatives of the DENR and the Bureau of Customs seized last week a juvenile bearded dragon worth some 8,000 pesos at the Clark International Airport in Pampanga. Based on the shipping manifest, the bearded dragon was sent by an online pet seller based overseas. Authorities discovered that the animal had died during transport as it was shipped without food, water, or appropriate padding inside the container. Paquito Moreno, Executive Director of DENR in Central Luzon, said transporting and trading of wildlife without the necessary papers is prohibited under the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act of 2001. Moreno thanked the BOC and Clark International Airport for their vigilance and support against illegal wildlife trade. The Department of Science and Technology is providing eggs, ducklings, and chickens to 6 regions to help augment food security and livelihood amid the pandemic. The DOST said the Manok at Itlog sa Pamayanan project under the Galing program aims to provide food and livelihood to affected families as well as frontliners in Regions 3, 4A, 6, 9, 11, and 12. Since March, nearly 27,000 duck eggs were already distributed, benefiting over 2,500 families. DOST Secretary Fortunato de la Peña also said the DOST will soon distribute DOTr Pinas, or the genetically superior breeder ducks, which could produce up to 256 pieces of eggs per year. The DOST targets to start the distribution of DOTr Pinas by July. 10 families per the 6 regions would each be provided with 50 female ducklings and 7 male ducklings, and then trained on duck production. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. The Department of Transportation says the PUV modernization program will do away with the boundary system for PUV drivers. Malacanang warns the public against taking Dexamethasone to cure COVID-19. The BIR includes bloggers and filmmakers earning from digital ads among online businesses that need to be registered. And Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi urges President Duterte to sign the proposed anti-terror bill. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And as another week comes to a close and Metro Manila is extended in the GCQ category, we urge everybody to please follow health protocols to be able to prevent the further spread of this disease. And not only just wearing a face masks and washing of hands, but for those of you who don't really need to be out, let us be considerate of other people and make sure that we are responsible for ourselves. All of us want the same thing. We are all fighting the same war. Let's all do this together, and I believe together we can. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.